In 1973, three astronauts were hurtling toward a space station that was slowly cooking itself to death. A critical heat shield had been ripped away during launch. Internal temperatures were climbing past 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Food was rotting. Toxic fumes were building. NASA had days, maybe hours, to find a fix, or Skylab would become a 170,000-pound coffin orbiting the Earth. The solution they came up with weighed almost nothing. It was thinner than a sheet of paper. And it worked so well that it saved the entire mission. 50 years later, that same technology is sitting on Amazon for about $15. And the energy industry has been quietly hoping you would never find out about it. Welcome back to Historia Prime. Today, we are going to trace a line from a near disaster in outer space to the reason your electricity bill is so painfully high every summer, and hand you a practical, proven weapon to fight back. No contractors, no subscriptions, no catch. But first, we need to understand exactly what is attacking your home, because the enemy is invisible. Part 1. The Invisible Invasion. Here is a question most people have never thought to ask. Where does the heat in your house actually come from in summer? The instinct is to blame the walls, the attic, maybe the front door. But the US Department of Energy measured this, and the answer surprised even building scientists. In hot climates, up to 40% of all the heat inside a home enters through the windows. Not the roof, not the poorly insulated garage, the glass. Think about that for a moment. Nearly half the reason your air conditioner runs all day long is because of your windows. Now, to understand why, you need to know what sunlight actually is. We think of it as just light, but sunlight is a cocktail of three very different kinds of energy. About 3% is ultraviolet radiation. That is what gives you a sunburn. Around 44% is visible light, the brightness you see. But the remaining 53%, pure infrared radiation, invisible heat. When sunlight hits your window, a tiny fraction bounces off. A small amount is absorbed by the glass itself, but the vast majority passes straight through, especially that 53% of infrared energy. It floods into your living room, strikes your couch, your floor, your walls, and converts into trapped, solid heat. And here is the cruel trick of physics. Standard window glass is transparent to incoming shortwave radiation, but it is opaque to the long-wave heat that bounces back. The heat gets in, but it cannot get out. You have just built a greenhouse inside your own home. Here is a way to visualize it. Imagine taking a 1,000-watt electric space heater, the kind you would use to warm a freezing garage, placing it directly in front of your biggest window, turning it to maximum, and walking away for 8 hours. That is exactly what one unshielded, south-facing window does to your home on a July afternoon. And you might have 5, 6, 7 of those windows. Your air conditioner is not fighting the summer. It is fighting your own windows, and it is losing. So who figured out how to stop this? Not a window company, not an energy corporation. The answer came from people who were about to die 270 miles above the Earth. Part 2. The Skylab Crisis and the NASA Miracle. May 14, 1973. Cape Canaveral. The United States launches Skylab, its very first space station, on a Saturn V rocket. For 11 minutes, everything looks perfect. And then, it doesn't. During the violent ascent through the atmosphere, a micrometeoroid shield, a protective layer wrapped around the station's hull, tears away. And this shield was not just armor against space debris. It was Skylab's primary thermal blanket, the only thing standing between the station and the raw, unfiltered fury of the sun. Without it, Skylab started baking. Temperature readings inside the station climbed past 130 degrees Fahrenheit. Containers of food began to swell and spoil. Sensitive photographic film, critical for the station's solar observation mission, started melting. And engineers on the ground realized something far more terrifying. At those temperatures, The polyurethane insulation inside the walls would begin releasing toxic gases. If the crew boarded the station as planned, they could be slowly poisoned. NASA had a problem that traditional engineering could not solve. On Earth, we stop heat with mass. Thick fiberglass bats, heavy concrete walls, layers of dense foam. But you cannot launch heavy, bulky insulation into orbit. Every extra pound costs thousands of dollars in fuel. They needed something that weighed almost nothing, but could stop heat dead in its tracks. And they found it, with the help of a small company called National Metallizing, based in New Jersey. The technology was called vacuum metallized film. Here is how it works, and this is genuinely elegant engineering. You take an extremely thin sheet of polyester. We are talking about 1 to 2 mils thick, thinner than a human hair. You place it inside a vacuum chamber and vaporize ultra-pure aluminium. In the vacuum, the aluminum atoms deposit evenly across the film's surface in a layer so thin you can still see through it. But that microscopic layer of metal transforms the film into a mirror for infrared radiation. It does not absorb the heat. It does not slow it down. It bounces it back. On May 25th, the crew of Skylab 2 launched to rescue the station. Astronauts Pete Conrad, Joe Kerwin, and Paul Weitz carried the metallized film folded into a compact package. Through the station's scientific airlock, they deployed it like a giant parasol over the exposed hull. The result was immediate. The film reflected the sun's infrared radiation back into space before it could ever penetrate the station's walls. Within hours, internal temperatures dropped to safe, workable levels. The crew moved in. The mission continued for 171 days. 3 lives saved, an entire space program rescued, by a sheet of plastic coated in a whisper of aluminum. Now, here is what most people do not realize. This material did not stay in space. It came back to Earth. It became commercially available. And today, the exact same technology, refined and improved over 50 years, is sold as solar control window film. You can buy it online for about $15 a roll, which raises an obvious question. If this technology has existed since the 1970s, and it works this well, why have you never heard of it? Part 3. The Great Suppression. Some people did hear about it. The right people. The people with money. After the energy crisis of the 1970s, when oil prices quadrupled and Americans waited in line for hours just to fill their gas tanks, commercial building managers and federal officials quietly began reading NASA's published research, and they acted on it. The Empire State Building underwent a major retrofit using solar control film. The result? A 68% reduction in heat gain through the windows. The installation paid for itself in a single year. The General Services Administration, the agency that manages all federal buildings in the United States, made solar film a standard specification. Skyscrapers across Manhattan, government offices in Washington, military installations around the world, they all got the film. But for the average homeowner, silence. Complete, deliberate silence. Why? Because the energy industry runs on a brutally simple equation. They sell kilowatt hours. The more electricity your air conditioner consumes, the more money they make. Your $200 summer electricity bill is not a problem to them. It is their business model. And they protect that business model aggressively. In 2024, the oil and gas industry spent over $150 million on federal lobbying. Electric utilities added another $135 million. Combined, the fossil fuel and energy industry outspend clean energy and efficiency advocates by a ratio of 27 to 1. Let me put that number in perspective. 27 to 1. For every single dollar spent telling you how to save energy, $27 were spent making sure you keep consuming it. And this is where it gets clever. They do not ban the technology. That would be too obvious. Instead, they shape the conversation. They fund marketing campaigns for products that keep you tethered to the grid. That $200 smart thermostat your utility company recommends? It does not stop heat from entering your home. It just manages how hard your air conditioner works to fight heat that should never have gotten inside in the first place. You still pay. They still profit. Meanwhile, you cannot build a $60 billion energy efficiency industry around a $15 product. You cannot charge a monthly subscription for a piece of plastic. You cannot generate contractor fees from something a homeowner installs in 30 minutes. So the solution was simple. Say nothing. Promote everything except the one thing that actually solves the root problem. The technology was not suppressed by force. It was suppressed by omission. And for 50 years, it worked. But here is what the industry did not count on. The internet. And people like you watching this right now. Part 4. The $15 solution versus the $20,000 trap. Now, to be fair, the industry does offer you one legitimate solution for hot windows. If you call a window company and complain about solar heat, a salesman will show up with a glossy brochure for low-E replacement windows. Low-E, short for low emissivity, is genuinely impressive technology. These windows have microscopic metallic oxide coatings baked into the glass at the factory. They reflect infrared heat while allowing visible light through. On paper, they are excellent. On your bank statement, they are devastating. Replacing the windows in an average American home costs between $10,000 and $25,000. If those new windows save you 20% on your energy bill, let us say $40 a month, it will take you somewhere between 20 and 30 years to break even. By then, the window seals may already be failing, and you are looking at another round of replacements. Now let us run the same math with NASA-derived solar control film. A roll of quality solar film for a standard window costs about $15 for a do-it-yourself installation. Professional-grade ceramic films, the best available, might run $8 to $12 per square foot installed by a pro, which means a full house treatment could cost $200 to $600. Compare that to $20,000. And the performance? Solar control film rejects up to 80% of infrared heat gain. It blocks 99% of UV radiation, the wavelengths that fade your furniture, crack your leather, and yellow your hardwood floors. Homeowners in Arizona, Texas, and Florida have documented air conditioner runtime reductions of 40 to 60% in their very first month. Some report the film paying for itself within 30 days. Let that sink in. A $15 product that delivers comparable heat rejection to a $20,000 window replacement. That pays for itself in a month and lasts a decade. That is not an upgrade, that is an asymmetric advantage. And the industry knows it, which is exactly why they never mention it. So let us talk about how to actually use it, because knowledge without action is just entertainment. Part 5. Your weekend mission brief. All right, you have the science, you have the history, now here is your tactical plan. This is a weekend project. One afternoon, a few basic tools, and you are done. Mission 1. Reconnaissance. Walk through your home and identify your priority targets. You are looking for south-facing and west-facing windows first. These catch the most brutal afternoon sun and are responsible for the majority of your solar heat gain. North-facing windows get very little direct sun. You can skip them. East-facing windows get morning sun, which is less intense, so treat them as secondary targets. Mission 2. Select your film. Search for solar control window film or heat rejection window film. You will encounter two main technologies. Metallized films use a thin layer of metal, much like the original NASA material, to reflect heat. They are affordable and effective, but can slightly interfere with cell phone signals and have a mirror-like appearance from outside. Ceramic films use nano-ceramic particles instead of metal. They block heat without the reflective look, do not interfere with electronics, and tend to be more durable. They cost more, but for most homeowners, they are worth the premium. The two numbers you need to check on any film are SHGC and VLT. SHGC stands for Solar Heat Gain Coefficient. This tells you what fraction of total solar energy gets through. You want this below 0.40. The lower the better. VLT stands for Visible Light Transmission. This is how much natural daylight the film allows in. If you want bright rooms, choose 50% or higher. If privacy or glare reduction matters more, go lower. Mission 3. Preparation. This is where 90% of bad installations happen, so listen carefully. The glass must be perfectly clean, not pretty clean, perfectly clean. Use a razor blade scraper to remove any paint specks, sticker residue, or hard water deposits. Then wipe with a lint-free cloth. A single trapped dust speck will create a permanent bubble under the film. Mission 4. Apply. Fill a spray bottle with water and add 3 to 5 drops of baby shampoo or clear dish soap. This creates what professionals call a slip solution. Spray the window glass generously. Peel the protective backing off the film and spray the adhesive side too. The soapy water prevents the film from bonding instantly, giving you time to position it exactly where you want it. Lay the film onto the wet glass. Slide it into perfect alignment. Then take a rubber squeegee and push firmly from the center outward toward the edges, forcing out water and air bubbles. Work methodically. Overlap your strokes. The adhesive activates as the water is removed. Mission 5. Wait. The film will look slightly hazy or cloudy for the first few days. Do not touch it. Do not try to fix it. This is the curing process. Microscopic moisture is evaporating through the film. Depending on climate and humidity, full clarity takes anywhere from 3 days to 4 weeks. When it is done, the film will be optically clear and permanently bonded to the glass. Critical safety note. If you have double pane or insulated glass windows, pay attention to this. Some very dark tint films, especially cheap automotive tints, absorb too much heat rather than reflecting it. That absorbed heat gets trapped between the panes, creating thermal stress that can actually crack the glass. Always buy film that is specifically rated for double-pane residential windows. Look for the words Architectural Solar Film, or check the manufacturer's compatibility chart. Ceramic films are generally the safest choice for any window type. Part 6. Why this matters more than saving money. At Historia Prime, we explore history not because the past is interesting, although it is, but because the past contains answers that powerful institutions would prefer you never find. The story of solar film is not just a story about windows and electricity bills. It is a case study in how knowledge gets buried, not by conspiracy, not by secret meetings in dark rooms, but by something far more effective. Silence. By simply never telling you that a better option exists, the system keeps you dependent on expensive, complex solutions that benefit the people selling them. Every time you reduce your reliance on the grid, you are doing something radical. You are decentralizing power, in both senses of the word. You are protecting your family's budget. You are extending the life of your furniture and floors by blocking UV damage. And at a moment when electrical grids around the world are straining under record demand, you are lowering the collective load for everyone. $15. One afternoon. A technology born from a near disaster 270 miles above the Earth, and it is available to you right now. In 1973, a film thinner than a human hair saved 3 lives in space. In your home, this weekend, it can start saving you thousands. The power to control your environment should not cost you your freedom or your paycheck. Now you have the knowledge. The next step is yours. If this opened your eyes, share it with someone who is drowning in summer electricity bills. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what we uncover next. Stay curious, stay self-reliant, and we will see you next time on Historia Prime.